back to another episode of Real Estate Renovators, the business advisory show for real estate professionals. My name's Chanell and this is Rex.
How are you, Chanell?
I'm hungry for chocolate looking at your suit.
It's from my Easter theme suit.
Well, Easter was a few months back, so you're living in the past here.
It was like a couple of weeks ago.
It's lovely. I'm like the white chocolate, you're like the actual chocolate, which is reflecting of our personalities as well. How's the week been, Rexy?
My week has been great. Bond Conveyancing is doing some wonderful things.
I've seen.
Nationwide.
And up for an award.
Yeah, we've got a few awards coming up. Telstra Business Awards, some legal awards, leadership awards. Yeah, interesting.
That's
7
huge.
months. It's one of the fastest growing law firms around Australia.
I expected nothing less from anything that you're involved with, Rexy, but congratulations.
It's more my business partners than me. I'm just the face.
Oh, I don't know about that, but congratulations.
Thank you. And your week?
It's been a really positive week. A lot's always happening in the real estate industry, which is good for someone like me who can't sit still for longer than 30 seconds at a time. But a really positive week. But enough about us. I want to introduce our guest today to someone.
A friend of yours too.
Definitely a friend of mine.
Sophie.
This particular guest, I actually placed her in a role about 6-7 years ago and have watched her lead an incredible department to success, to having 2 beautiful children, to now opening up her own business, which specialises in property management training. As we all know, property management, it's an incredibly demanding role, very high turnover role. So we're really lucky to have Kasey with us today to talk through the trials and tribulations of the property management industry, but also with a big emphasis on training and how that can lead a property management department to success. So welcome, Kasey, to the show.
Thanks for coming.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
I feel like she forced you here, but that's
No, I'm very happy to be here.
Tell us about you, Kasey. I don't know you as well as Chanell does. So how did you start into property management?
So I have a almost 2-decade background in real estate. Yeah.
Wow, you don't look old enough to have a 2 decade.
No, I've done 10 years property management.
Wow.
And then from there I moved into department management. I managed, restructured, restaffed with Chanell's help, a very big rental team, and watched it thrive. So,
let's go back. Property management, 10 years in property management.
Yeah.
Maybe 20 years ago. Property management
Long
back
time.
then till now is very different.
Very different, yeah.
Probably a lot easier back then,
Yeah.
I suppose, than now.
100%, yeah.
With regulations and what have you.
It's completely different. And that's why I guess I've moved into my own consulting and training side of things, because I've seen with the department that I was managing how successful a department can be with the right training and support. We had a very happy team of property managers that was, I think, about 11 by the time I finished up there. No staff turnover for 4 years.
Wow.
And I broke that streak when I went on maternity leave.
Then I started having really great months again when she left. So I was just recruiting.
So that's what made me move into the training side of things, because I love it. I love mentoring and training property managers. I know how hard it can be when you don't have that support, and when you don't have that knowledge to be able to confidently step into a role.
But a post-COVID world, when property management, a lot of property managers left the industry, and coming back into the industry is so much more regulations than ever before. How do you go about where do you start?
I think you need to start with adequate training. It's one thing to have
But where does your training start?
Yeah, well, that's hopefully with me and people like me that are training these people or these new entrants into the industry that don't have that support. I mean, the seniors are so busy themselves that it's not like when I first started in the industry, I had someone alongside me the whole time, and it's just not possible anymore. There's so many new regulations, and just that it's such a fast-paced industry as it is. Let alone having to try and find the time to mentor someone coming through without any experience. So
there's a lot of training programs that are modular based, and you've got to read a bunch of books to get a tick at the end of it. Yours is, well, my understanding is nothing like that.
No, more hands-on for sure. So, you can come out of the general trainings with your certificate and things like that, but it doesn't help you be able to step into a role and manage a portfolio. So
the agent's prep course has no relevance to property management.
It
doesn't.
And that's what you need. That's all you need to be able to get in and manage a portfolio. But that's not okay in my opinion. It's a huge liability on the company, the client, and the individual. Like the negative effects that it has throwing someone into a portfolio without the adequate experience behind them is detrimental to all parties, the company's reputation, the client's investment, and the individual's confidence. So yeah, hopefully I can have some kind of impact on being able to train these property managers that don't have that experience behind them, because we all know there's such a staff shortage at the moment with experienced property managers. So,
and the wages of experienced property managers.
That's right.
I think something, I'm not pushing up wages, Rex. My biggest, I guess, issue with the industry case is that property managers, you are managing someone's biggest asset, someone's life savings is in this property. And you're bringing on entry-level people to the industry that have no understanding of what they're actually doing, and then hoping they sink or swim.
Yeah.
Why do you think that there's such an astronomical turnover in property management, and what can someone like you do or assist a company with to stop that turnover from happening?
I think there's such a huge turnover because they don't have the support or training behind them. And a perfect example of that is a client I'm working with at the moment, started in, I think, November with the company with no experience, was thrown in and had no formal training, and she's just resigned. And that's a perfect example of not giving... I'm surprised
she lasted so long.
Yeah, well, that's a perfect example of not giving them that training to, like, they learn from making huge mistakes that are financially costly to the business and the owner of the property. And that takes a huge knock on your confidence. So it is a highly stressful industry as it is. Without having that training behind you, it's no surprise to me that property managers aren't lasting. Yeah.
And where do you start with training? So say a company calls you and says, hey, Kasey, like our property management team, we've lost 3 property managers in the last 3 months. We don't know what we're doing. We're sales directors. Like, we don't know how to train a property management division. We're in a really tight market right now. We need to go out and focus on listings. What do we do?
Yeah.
What advice do you give to them, or what do you do to then set them up for success?
Yeah, I think the first thing they need to do is get the systems and the structure and the support in place of their property management department before they focus on getting new listings, because those listings are going to go as fast as they come.
Correct.
So getting the foundations right first, and like I'm doing that with a few clients at the moment that I'm in, working on their rental department, getting the systems and structures in place and training the property managers as I go. So
what's that process look like in terms of time frames, costs, etc.? Because
every office is different, yeah, for sure, depending on how big they are, what systems they currently have in place, whether some are working and we just need a little tweaking here and there. But the training side of things, I will put them through like a workshop, one workshop a week, which goes through things like preventing complaints. So not how to deal with them, let's just stop them from happening altogether. And then we've got staying out of tribunal, nurturing your relationship with your clients, especially your renters, to help you stay out of tribunal.
So you do tribunal training?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So you've got different modules for...
Lots of different modules, yeah. So I've got a series of short workshops that I do on specific aspects of property management, and then a fundamentals training course, which is ideal for anyone new coming into the industry. Anyone basically who's come in since COVID would be perfect for it, because it goes through all the fundamentals of property management. So time management, communication, complaints, best practice for your day-to-day tasks, legislation. So leaving that training, they should be able to step into a portfolio, a small one, and have the confidence with knowing the basics of property management, not having to learn as they make mistakes.
I feel like this should be changed by law, like legislation, because you get an agent's rep, as you said earlier. There's no training for property management.
The agent's rep is rubbish. It's absolutely rubbish. It doesn't set you up for any sort of success in the industry.
It used to be a 1 week course. Now it's maybe
It used to be a 24. There was some that were 24-hour courses, $400, and boom, you've got an agent's rep. But it's like any entry level, like any role that doesn't require formal education, just like a retail role. Like, you don't need a qualification for it.
But retail, you're not managing people's biggest assets.
That's That's exactly where I was going with it. But the problem is that you're managing exactly what you said, someone's biggest asset. So there needs to be some sort of training, and it's not up to the individual that's getting the agent's rep. It's up to the directors to go, hang on a minute, this is like we always talk about, the rental division and the portfolio is the biggest asset to our office. And we're entrusting people that are 22 years old that spent 2 weeks getting a course done that has no relevance to the industry. But hey, they're not working out, so let's just keep rehiring and firing and rehiring.
Not fixing the problem.
Business, it's massive. The amount of times I've had calls from directors like, Chanel, I've gone through 3 property managers, please find us someone great. My first question is, why are you going through so many? Like, are they getting trained? Oh, well, we want someone that's ready to go. Like, we don't want to train them. Find me someone with 4 years experience.
It's not realistic anymore.
I think every department's different. That's what's ready to go, and we're ready to go for one department.
But they're rare. You would know the ones that have got a lot of experience are. That's why there's so many newbies coming in, because the ones with the experience have left during COVID. They haven't been replaced, and they're not coming back up through the newer entrants because they're not getting the training that they need to be experienced. It's like a vicious cycle. They're coming, not getting trained, they leave. You hire someone new, they're not getting trained, they leave.
That's right. It's never ending, which is, fantastic, because it keeps my business extremely profitable, but also a frustration. Case, what about senior PMs? Like, I'm seeing a lot of it now, like senior property managers or property managers that have been in the industry a really long time are just checking out now. They can't mentally handle the pressure of it. What has happened, and why do you think there's such a big exodus of also our experienced property managers?
I think that definitely stems from COVID. There was a lot of pressure on not only your senior managers, but those that had experience were expected to step up, but didn't really have the support behind them from like the directors potentially. And then coming out of COVID, you then had the new legislation that came in, the compliance checks or the safety checks that came in as well. There's just pressure onto pressure onto pressure. And if they're not getting the support that they need from the top, even the training or mentoring that those senior managers need, who are they turning to get help and support? If it isn't coming from the top, they need to be getting it from somewhere. Just because they have the experience, it doesn't mean they don't need that ongoing support and training. And I think that's why they are leaving as well, because they're just over it, I guess, the burnt out and the lack of support.
It's common, isn't it? In real estate, I feel like the sales agents who bring in the commissions, I suppose, are really well regarded and they're put on pedestals, and the property managers is the wealth of
they're the poor cousin.
They're kind of treated as a poor cousin. They're not celebrated as much as sales agents.
But they keep the office going.
Let's talk about this.
And they give the sales to them, percentages.
I think with PMs, and feel free to disagree with me, Case, I feel like, and I talk about this a lot in other podcasts that I'm lucky to be a part of that aren't necessarily the show, is that property managers, in order to keep a good property manager, I would argue you need to give them some flexibility. The job does not need to be done in an office. And I understand the importance of needing to create a good culture and good team environment, but ask your PM division, what do you need for you to want to stay here long term? Because the longer a property manager is in your business, the longer you're going to hold on to the assets of the properties that are in that portfolio.
100%,
So ask your PM team, what can we do to keep you here? I want 1 day work from home. Great, give it to them. Like, I want to drop my kids off at school at 9 a.m, so I'll come in at 9:30, but I'll happily work from home for an extra hour. If you trust that property manager and they've been with you a long time, just give it to them. It's not a job that needs to be done between set hours. Like, there's things that need to be actioned.
It's not a job that is able to be done between set hours.
That's right. So why do you think directors are just are holding on so tight to the need to have them in from X hour to X hour, no flexibility, and you must be in office? Why can't they let go and give that flexibility?
I think that's just old school mentality.
Exactly. It's the old school mentality.
Not moving with the times.
It's frustrating. So I want to shout it from the rooftop of this beautiful penthouse is that, the companies that are retaining staff are the ones that are innovating, going, okay, where are we at in 2023? The world is flexible.
There's more to it though. It's not just a flexible workspace, it's the training, like the support. The ones that retain, it's not just you can work from home. They support them, they offer them training, they offer them extra things. The working environment by itself, I don't think is sufficient, especially in a fast-paced environment like property management. I think training, with change of legislation, how many property managers weren't trained properly?
There's still some that haven't been trained on the new legislation that I'm going in now and training them. And 2 years later. 2 years later.
Exactly.
It's insane.
And I feel like some agencies have realised, oh, we may get fined now.
Yeah.
We better train them.
Yeah.
When they're not being proactive, and I think that's what's making them.
Well, it's interesting. I had the situation happen recently. It wasn't a candidate that I placed, but a candidate that I knew quite well who was let go from her job because of a massive, I guess, there was something in legislation that she wasn't aware of and hadn't actioned it, and it cost the business $45,000 in legal fees. And the client called me and was extremely upset and extremely frustrated this had happened, and said, make sure on your system you don't place her anywhere again. You know, I can't believe she did this, and blah, blah, blah. Please find me someone. I need someone immediately to replace this candidate. And I thought to myself, well, why didn't she know to action this? Was she trained on this change in legislation? And yes, as much as it is up to the property managers to be up to date with training, you're hiring someone to manage, again, a huge asset. Why would you not look external and bring a trainer on?
Train them.
It is your responsibility.
I would say it's not up to the property manager, it's up to the business.
Yeah.
It's their asset,
Yeah.
their business. They should be up to date.
That's what
not
I think.
rely, pass it down.
I really hope that it becomes the norm for agencies that when they are putting someone new in, whether they're experienced or not, it should be a part of the onboarding process. Put you through some kind of training course, whether it be just an update on legislation, so that the company knows confidently, yep, she knows about it, she's been trained, go for it. Whether she's had it or they've had it in the past, the training in the past, at least putting them through some form of training, whether it be new start training, legislation, at least they can...
But also refresher as well.
Yes, yeah.
Speaking of refreshing, Kasey, do you offer if I have a portfolio and I'm watching the show, do you offer a health check?
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people wouldn't know if their property managers are properly trained or not, or they may not know if it's been run well or not. They assume it is, but how would they really know? They're not. Most directors are not hands-on.
They just assume that it is all there together as it should be. And I've got a client that does regular health checks with me, and her portfolio is 100% as it needs to be.
What does a health check involve?
Just going through each file and making sure it's as per it needs to be. So you don't just have your management authority on file, but do you have your proof of ownership with that as well? Have you listed a property just on the owner's word that they're the owner of the property? Looking at little things like that.
So you actually get a verification of ID or some sort of cross-reference to show that
title, council rates, that should come hand in hand with listing your property.
How many property managers would
I don't think many would.
Yeah. It's so important. You may not own the property and be collecting rent on it or whatever.
Yeah. So just making sure all the documents that you legally should have as a part of your managing this property are all there. And
can I just stress, from a legal point of view, if you go to sell that, if it's not there, you can't sell it.
Yeah.
So the value you think you have may not be.
Yeah.
And it'll get picked up in due diligence.
Yeah, 100%. So it's worth investing in those regular health checks to make sure you've got all your ducks in a row. So if the time does come when you need to sell, or you're getting audited every year, like they do get audited every year, you've got everything in place. You don't have to worry about it.
What about if someone's buying a property, buying a rent roll, not a property? If they're buying a rent roll, there's always a due diligence period.
Yeah.
Buyer beware, and they need to do their own checks and make sure it is compliant. Do you assist with that aspect of it?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. So similar to doing the health checks, I would go in and make sure that every file is up to date and as per legislation and compliance, to make sure that it is ready to sell.
Awesome.
Or buy.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
If you were, I know that you are involved in assisting a lot of property management departments with recruiting and training and developing teams on a contract basis.
Yeah.
So when interviewing a property manager case, what are you looking for? What do you believe makes for a strong property manager in the industry?
The heart to want to be in it, for sure.
Hard to find, isn't it?
Yeah. If you can find someone who genuinely cares and has a passion for it, the training can come. They don't have to necessarily have all these years of experience behind them, but a good heart, the care factor, I think lacks in a lot of property managers. They might go in with experience, but they couldn't really care what happens, and that is a liability.
Is that care factor because of the individual or because of the business? Because if the business nurtures a culture.
Really.
Yeah, I think both for sure. The individual's got to have it, but they've also got to work in a business that cares for them as well. So
if they see the owners caring about the clients and that culture,
they're
resonates.
feeling supported, 100%. And that's what I think a lot of people, it's so clear as day to me that the more you look after your staff, the harder they'll work for you. And I wish that everyone got that, because there would be a lot more happier property managers out there that would stay long term if they felt supported, nurtured and cared for. Yeah.
I've walked into so many real estate offices and you see the property management division and it's like, like it hurts to look at it, because they're just so, like, you can just see they're so miserable. And it's like, well, there's this huge push for bring people back to the office. and it's like, we've got this great working culture, or hey, bring the property manager to the office. You walk into the office, it's like tumbleweeds.
Yeah.
It's like dark rooms, and it's like there's no
not for
music.
sales.
And
Sales
then
is
the sales division's like Wolf of Wall Street. It's pumping. It's like, whoa, far out. Like, you want to create a high performing PM team.
Yeah.
It's so simple. Create an environment that's positive and that people are engaged.
Yeah.
Give them the right training, or put them through the right training program. Give them mentors and ongoing industry training, and get them excited about it. Like, property management gets such a bad rap, but it's such an exciting industry.
Oh, 100%.
Low barrier to entry. You don't need formal education. You
So
can
much
earn
room for
6
growth.
figures. That's right. We paint such a negative light about it, or it gets painted in such a negative light, but there's so many positives to being a property manager.
And that's what I think, that's the impact I'm trying to have on the industry as well. It is such a rewarding career, and it can take you places, and I want to like ignite that spark back in property managers again, because it's been such a wonderful career for me. I've seen how it doesn't work when you don't have the support and training, and I've seen how it works when you do have that support and training, and how much a department can thrive with the right training and mentoring, which was the department that I created. And the team there was phenomenal, and it all came down to, yes, culture, but they were trained.
Culture's created.
Yeah, and they were trained enough to have confidence in their role and passion within their role, because they weren't scared of making a mistake, because they had the knowledge they needed to be able to do their job properly. I hope to have some kind of impact on the industry, and really, I guess.
So what's the future hold? Where do you want to see the industry go?
I want to see it thriving. I worry about it with the rental crisis that everyone's talking about at the moment. I worry about it with the staff shortages, and I hope to turn that around. And I'm slowly getting the message out there, excuse me, of the importance of training and nurturing your property managers, because that all impacts the industry as a whole, because the clients won't be unhappy and talking negatively. The companies won't be impacted negatively by staff members making mistakes through lack of training, like you mentioned before. I hope to be the go-to trainer in the industry, because I know that I can make a huge impact on it.
I think that's what I've always loved about you, Kasey. You genuinely love the industry.
Yeah.
And
you see the passion.
You can, and it's so refreshing. And I've always loved it when you were head of department recruiting for you, because I knew anyone that I put forward to you, I knew that they were in good hands.
Yeah.
I knew that they would get nurtured, they would be empowered, they would be given the tools and all the training needed to be successful. And if they weren't successful, it wasn't anything to do with you, it was because they didn't have that drive within them. And I think people like you in the industry are so few and far between, and so many business owners, if you're watching and you're struggling with your property management division, or you're a PM that needs some extra support, go and speak to your director and get someone like Kasey in the business to reignite that spark for the industry. Because in the end, knowledge is power. 100%. And when you know your job, you become empowered with it. And when you know it and you become an expert in your job, the passion starts to come.
Yeah.
Like, you love what you do because you know you are a leader in your industry. You know what you...
Because I help people.
Yeah.
You help people for a difficult part in their
Yeah.
life. Nothing more rewarding, but it sounds like you've got that same passion.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful. You spend so much of your life at work. You got to love what you do.
Yeah.
But you got to know what the hell you're doing.
Yeah.
Wow, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And the health check, I can't recommend highly enough for every
for sure.
agency to do a health check at some stage.
So important.
On the rent roll, because there could be holes in there or skeletons
a lot
that will come out at some stage.
100%, yeah.
Kasey, do you have a message you want to leave to directors or property managers that might be struggling with their departments right now?
The message that I would leave would be to invest in your rental department. It is the biggest asset of your business. So invest in it, invest in your staff to give them the power. Like you said, knowledge is power and confidence. So with that, they will thrive, your department will thrive, but it starts with the training.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much, Kasey.
Thank you.
Thanks
for having me.
Can't wait to see where the future of your business goes.
Thank
No doubt
you.
it's going to do amazing things.
Thank you,
thank you so much. And thank you so much for everyone for watching another episode of Real Estate Renovators.